So, you want to give a demo for the Affective Task project. I'm here to give a quick rundown on how the project works and a template for what you should do during the demo. I'm going to assume very minimal knowledge of the project, so if you want to just see about the demo, skip forward some. First, a bit on what you'll need to run this. The project runs on the desktop, not standalone, so you need a headset to connect to it. It was developed for the Vive Pro I and its associated controllers, so these. I've used it with a Quest 2, and there's no reason it shouldn't work with most other headsets, but it's safest to use the Vive I. As far as software goes, you should be able to find the executable on the Shield drive in the demo repository. So for example, if I load up the current state of the Shield as I'm recording this, there's a demo repository folder here. You go to Affective Task 2022 Experiment, and everything in here. In fact, you can run it straight from the Shield, but I recommend you just kind of copy it over to the desktop. Now, you'll also need Steam VR installed. It's recommended to have SR Anapal, but it's not strictly necessary. But if you want to demo any kind of sensors regarding the eyes, then you'll need that. If you want to demo any other sensors, you'll need the associated software. Now, before I dive in, just a quick refresher on the purpose of the project. The long-term goal is to be able to detect a user's emotion while in VR based on their physiological responses. Stuff like heart rate or pupil dilation. In order to do that, we first need to capture those physiological responses while they're experiencing a range of emotions. Therefore, we devised this project that asks the users to perform various tasks meant to elicit certain emotions while we record their physiological responses and ask them to self-report on their emotions after each. That's the main idea. You'll want to be able to explain this to anyone you're giving a demo to. There are also some 360 videos in the project and some neutral versions of the tasks, which copy the motions but leave out the affective stimuli. If that's at all confusing, then hopefully things in action will help clear that up. So, now I'll open up that folder that I copied and click on Biosensors Collection Source. It'll load for a second, and then we'll be taken to this lobby page. Now, on the left, you'll see the order in which the user will experience the tasks. It's randomized in a special way each time you start up the program. On the right, you'll see some options for this user's run. The checkboxes tell the system if they should record or use any of the physiological sensors. For demo purposes, I typically just leave them all checked, but if you want to try, it should be pretty easy to use the ANT-HR one that just requires that you have a polar device and the ANT USB dongle. The iMetric stuff is also pretty easy. It's just recorded through SR Anapal. If you'd like to see what the data looks like, you can do that, but not necessary. You can also input a subject ID, but we'll avoid it for now. Essentially, don't worry about this stuff for a demo. Before we hit start, we'll take a look at the advanced options page. Its primary purpose is to set times for each activity. When you first boot up the program on a new computer, this will all default to 0, so you'll have to assign some values here, otherwise things will get very weird. For demo purposes, we want things to be pretty short, so I'm going to set the time to for most things to 30 seconds. Maybe the neutral time just gets 5, etc. The neutral time field is for the neutral stimulus that's played between everything. But if we just set everything to 30 and then neutral to 5, things will go pretty fast. At the bottom, we can interrupt the order of tasks defined for us and build a block of tasks that we put up front, useful for demo purposes. I'll leave that for later, though. For now, we'll just see what happens when we jump right in. Okay, so now I've hit start, and I'm in VR. The first thing the user will see is this little room that teaches them how to use the emotion reporting tool. It's pretty simple. They just pick a word on the wheel, they rate how strongly they felt it, and then they pick a valence and arousal value. Now, I often skip this part when demonstrating. In order to skip a scene, you can simply hit that little next button that's on the desktop. Now we've come to one of the main parts, the tasks. Each of the tasks involves doing something physical and can be started by squeezing both triggers. I recommend that you try each task at least once before giving a demo. This is the video room. It starts out with just a sort of large blank space, but once I press the space button, it starts playing the video. Now, the video should be viewed sitting down, and I don't typically show these during a demo, but it might be good for you to experience it just so that you have the experience. Now I'll show you what running a demo looks like. So, before the participant comes in, I usually start the program and configure the right settings. When we start up, we don't want to just go in some random task order. We want to show them a specific set of things. So I'll go into the advanced options, make sure all the times look fine, 30 seconds across the board with 5-second neutral time, and then we'll go to this little build a block setup. For that, I'll enter a 0, 1, 0, 1, and click the Alt button for the 2 at the bottom. What this is going to do is set it up to where they do buzzer, then sorting, then the Alt version of buzzer, then sorting again. You click build, and there's no feedback to make sure that that happens, but you just have to trust that it does. For example, I'll hit start and go to the next one, and as you can see, we are in BuzzerBox, not the video world. Alright, now my participant has just walked in, and I'll begin explaining the experiment. So, we want to build an AI model that can recognize human emotion from physiological signals. To do that, our first step is to collect that kind of data while exposing users to a variety of tasks and stimuli that are meant to provoke different emotional responses within them, and then having them report what they felt during the experience. That's an overall summary that you can give them. You can find the exact text in the document that's provided for instructions. The VR device that we'll be using is called the Vive Pro I. You'll also be using 2 Vive controllers. You can hold them like this with your index finger on the trigger and your thumb on the trackpad, and these are the only 2 buttons you'll need to worry about, so should be pretty simple. Do you mind if I put the headset on for you? Yeah. Right, so when putting the headset on, if they allow you to put it on for them, you can unscrew the back, kind of place it on their face, down the back. There we go. Now, I'll give you your 2 controllers. Here's one for your right hand. Here's one for your left. Alright, are you seeing the big blue void?
Yes.
Great. Now give me a second and I'll get this started. Now I'll come to the computer and just press start here. Alright, this first part is just a quick tutorial that shows subjects how to give those ratings at the end of the tasks. You can just quickly click through this if you like. You don't have to worry about reading it or anything. Great. Now, this is... Oh, there's one last one. Alright, now this is one of our tasks. So you can see that each task has a little instruction board out in front of you, and you can squeeze both of your controller's triggers to start. For this one, they might drop the ball or not realize that they dropped. To do that, you can just restart the scene by clicking this. Otherwise, you can for them to hit the 30-second timer. There. Okay, so as you might have guessed, that task was meant to elicit frustration. We used the weird forces on the ball and the loud sounds to create a sense of lack of control and chaos. So after you click through all of these, you'll be taken to a quick neutral task. And gives them sounds of rain. Alright, now this box sorting task is a little bit more difficult. You can get started with it whenever you like. Common problems here might be people just don't realize how to pick up the boxes. If that usually happens, I tell them that they should just reach their hand completely into the box, squeeze the trigger, and then reset the scene for them to start all over. Now we'll wait for them to finish. Great. Now, that task was meant to elicit confusion. You might have noticed that the game occasionally cheats and changes the color of the block right after you throw it, making you get it wrong. Alright, now I'll usually either cut off the demo here or maybe let them try the next two neutral tasks. The next two ones are just the neutral version of the box. But they tend to get the point after just a couple of minutes. So you can look at the amount of time that you have allotted for your demo to see what you should do. Usually a good bit after will be followed by Q&A. Otherwise, that's all for the demo.